Hello, this is Zachery Johnson. This is my informative speech for COMM 15,000. This is Melody Calhoun, this is Randall Calhoun, and this is Julie Johnson. Let's begin. Imagine trying to make one of the hardest decisions of your life, but not being able to fully communicate what it is you are trying to say. This is a reality that many physicians, patients, families see in their day-to-day life today in society. Poor communication affects a process called end-of-life care. Without good communication during end-of-life care, not all the facts will be straight and patients will be left in the dark. As someone who cares deeply about both of these processes, we will discuss ways that you, not only as a patient or a family member or friend, but also in the shoes of as a physician, can improve your communication during the end-of-life care process. During this lecture, we will discuss 3 different topics of communication. One is how you can just overall improve your communication through a process. The next is how to communicate the death. And the other is nonverbal communication and other lingo. So the first step is called the 7-step approach. Like the name implies, the 7-step approach goes in 7 steps in order to provide better communication during the end-of-life care process. The first step is to prepare. This is a straightforward step. This is where you confirm your medical facts, you pick an environment, and you pick a good time to talk with the patient, their family, and their friends about what is to come. The next step is to establish what is known. This is what you want to do at the beginning of the patient-physician relationship. You want to ask them open-ended questions on what they already know as to not be redundant. Being redundant will just cause more trauma because you are just already stating what they already know. The next is to establish how the info is to be handled. This, again, is something you should do at the beginning of the patient-physician relationship. How does the patient want their information to be handled? Do they want their family knowing, or do they just want it kept to themselves? The next step is the main step, and it is to deliver the information. Now, this is what you want to do in a straightforward yet sensitive manner, as to not cause harm, but to be truthful and let the patient know of everything that's going on. The next step is to respond to emotions. This is a very difficult step for most physicians, as they have to address and respond to what the patient and their family and friends is giving back to them, either positively or negatively. The next step is goals. This is where you and your patient want to establish goals for treatment. How do they want treatment? It is good to be able to communicate back and forth to be able to decide what the patient wants. The next step is to have a plan. This is where you take what you did in the goals and put it into a plan that the patient, their family know. That is the 7-step approach. The next part is how to communicate with death. Now, this is something that all physicians have to be ready for during the end-of-life care process. And again, like the first step of the 7-step approach, you need to prepare, but remain open to the unexpected. While it may sound grim, preparing ahead will make you more ready to be able to communicate everything that has happened. But if you remain open to the unexpected, you will also stay optimistic. Another part of the death process is to read body language. Now, this can go for not just the death, but for anything. So body language, if you look at someone's expressions or their posture, this can tell you a lot about how someone's feeling. When someone is slunched over or has a frown on their face, this can show that they may need a break from news or are not ready to hear what is happening. Another part of body language is to sit at eye level with someone. Sitting at eye level with someone will help them feel equal to you. When you sit at above someone or below someone, that creates a sense of authority that you are not equal to them, and they are less likely to take you seriously. Sitting at eye level reduces authority. Another step is to use simple language. Simple language at the beginning of the process is important because the patient is not into the facts, the medical facts. They just want to hear what is to happen. Another step is called the warning shot and pause technique. The warning shot and pause technique is a technique used by physicians during the end-of-life care process. If you ever heard the phrase, "I'm afraid I have some news," this is an example of the warning shot and pause technique. The warning shot, "I'm afraid I have some news," gives signals that difficult news is coming and prepares them. The pause gives them time to more prepare for what is to happen. Overall today, we have discussed many ways that you can improve your communication during the end-of-life care process, as a physician, as a patient, or as a family or friend. Without communication, we are left in the dark, especially during the troubling times of end-of-life care processes. Thank you. My sources for this lecture were Differences in Physicians' Verbal and Nonverbal Communication with Black and White Patients at the End of Life by Elliot A.M. Alexander S.C. and Messenger C.A., Mohan D., and Barnado A.E. My next source was Talking About Dying and Death, Essentials of Communicating and Approaching Death from the Perspective of Major Stakeholders by Eschmuller S. and Zambrano S.C. My next was Facilitating End-of-Life Decisions, Making Strategies for Communication and Assessing by Norton S.A. and Tallarico K.A. And my final was Ensuring Competency in End-of-Life Care by Von Guten C.F., Ferris F.D., and Emmanuel L.L. Thank you.